Today's Bike Links is made possible by the Lincoln Lancaster Health Department. Public health, everyone, every day, everywhere. The Lower Platte South Natural Resources District. And Lincoln's 10 Health TV.
Oh, hi. Welcome to Bike Links. I'm Aaron Chambers.
And I'm Elizabeth Rancourt. And we're here to guide you through some of the basics of becoming a safer and more aware cyclist. And also a better, more bike-friendly pedestrian and driver.
That's right. We'd also like to talk to you about how to buy the right bike, how to handle that bike, and then how to have proper etiquette when riding on the trails and streets.
Ready to get started? Let's go.
Okay.
Lincoln has 128 miles of trails, both commuter and recreational. But before you take your bike out on one of Lincoln's trails, there are some safety and common sense tips to keep in mind. Our trails are shared by not only cyclists, but also runners, pedestrians, people walking their pets. In fact, any non-motorized vehicle can use our trail system. Being a shared space, remember to be respectful and courteous to everyone you see using the trail. This strategy will go a long way in making your trail experience an enjoyable one. You should be expected to be treated the same way, too. Also, be respectful of the property alongside of our trails. Private property extends the length of much of our trail system, so be sure to pick up your trash and stay off property that you have not been invited on. Trails are a great and scenic way to get around Lincoln. I love using them, and so does my friend Roy Rivera here. Hey Roy, how you doing?
Good, Elizabeth. How are you?
I'm doing great. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been riding a bike?
Well, I have been living in Lincoln for approximately 8 years now. I work at the Hispanic Community Center, just a couple of blocks this way south. You know, I love riding in the trails. Before I came to Lincoln, it was more of a hobby, something to do exercise, have fun with friends. But when I came to Lincoln, I realized bicycles were not only just for recreational activities. You can also commute, you can also, do anything. I love riding the trails in Lincoln.
Great, thanks Roy. Before we get started, let's just take a reminder that you always want to be taking your helmet out and putting it on, wearing a properly fitting helmet when you're headed out to the trails. Even if you think, I'm riding on the protected trails, not going to be in traffic, you never know when somebody's dog might get loose of them and run in front of you, so having your lid on is going to prevent you from serious brain injuries.
For sure. And always remember that riding a bike is like riding in the streets, like being in a car. The same rules apply. Always ride the farthest to your right side as you can. And if you're riding with somebody else, you're riding out with your buddies, you're riding in a competition, or just checking out the trails in Lincoln, remember that you need to ride single file. How would you feel if you were riding on the street on your car and you saw two cars that wouldn't let you pass by? You will be pretty upset, right? I know I would. So always remember to be courteous to those riders. Mm-hmm. Always check. And if for some reason you decide, let's go ahead and ride together for a little while, always remember to scan, check behind you, and see if you don't have anybody around.
So what if I do need to pass somebody? What should I do? Just yell like, hey, bike, I'm coming through, let me go.
Sometimes I've gotten some people that actually do that. Or they just go swerving by around you and then you get scared. If you want to pass somebody, you can always ring your bell, or you can always just say, passing on your left. That's the best thing that you can do. Faster traffic does need to slow down and yield for slower traffic. The trail is not a raceway. It doesn't give you the right to go how fast you need to go. Always remember that you need to be predictable on how you're riding so that the people around you know what your plans are going to be.
I know there are a lot of people who use headphones on the trail. So can you talk a little bit about, what do you do if somebody's got music on, they're listening to music? What kind of things do you keep in mind with that?
Oh yeah, and I know that happens a lot. We always need to remind ourselves that a lot of people using the trails are out there, to use it as recreational, or even if they're commuting, you like to listen to your favorite music and just relax. But it happens that you wanna get their attention, and all of a sudden you see that they're not responding. So you need to yield to pedestrians, to slower traffic, and make sure that that they acknowledge you.
Yeah.
You need to make sure that you're safe, and like I said before, you need to be predictable
Right.
and make sure that people know what you're going to do.
And another tip, you know, we hate to think about the worst case scenario, but there have been times where people have been assaulted on the trails. So, you know, it's always important to be aware of your surroundings. And if your music is on too loud, you're not hearing what's going on around you, that's a great way to be taken advantage of, be caught by surprise by a bad situation. So, you know, if you are listening to music, there's nothing wrong with that, but keep the volume low so that you're courteous to other people using the
For
trails.
sure. And, you know, we also need to remember that, you know, if you're riding fast and you're riding with music, you know, you have so many distractions that sometimes you cannot see if there's a bump, if there's something that might cause, you know, for you to fall down or lose control. So remember to be safe about all that stuff. And like Elizabeth was saying, there's a lot of things that can happen. So if you can always remember to carry your cell phone with you, in the case you need to make an emergency phone call. You never know.
It's also important, you know, not just that you're heard on the trails, like if you're passing someone, but that you're seen at night. And in fact, it's actually a city law to have both a front and rear light on your bike while you're riding at all times. But, you know, other things that you can do, especially if you're riding at night because the trails are kind of dark, or wear, you know, reflective or bright colored clothing. And, you know, this is a good tip for our friends who are runners too, or walking their pets, like maybe to carry a light with them. Some of the trails are pretty dark at night, and that can help cyclists see runners and runners see cyclists.
I think it's also important, you know, not only to think about what to do if you want to pass someone, but also what if someone wants to pass you. You have to let them know, you know what, I heard you. You raise your hand, just let them know that they're there. Also, you know, sometimes you ride, you get a flat, or you want to stop to grab some water, either if you're walking, or, you know, with your pets, or in a bicycle. Move aside. A lot of people, you know, they're riding, and if you stop suddenly, that can cause an accident. Somebody could get hurt. So just remember to do those little things so that everyone can enjoy the trails.
Definitely. And, you know, same thing, you know, some things you might want to carry with you when you're on the trail in case you have a flat. You know, bring a pump, bring an extra tube, maybe a patch kit, some of those things you want to have with you. But I've found on Lincoln's trails too, if you're stopped and you're having mechanical problems, often there'll be another bicyclist that'll ride by and offer you a hand. So if you have any problems, usually people are pretty friendly about helping you out. Now, Roy, can you tell me a little bit about what happens when you're on a bike trail that intersects with a city street?
Oh, that's a very important question. Many of the riders here in Lincoln might not know, but every time that you go into an intersection, you need to stop and get off your bike and walk it and leave the intersection. That's something that everyone needs to know, because that's one of the things that are very important in order to keep everyone safe.
Right, and I know that's a law that a lot of cyclists maybe don't know about, maybe don't follow right now, but the important thing that cyclists need to know about this law is that if you don't follow the law and you do happen to get hit by a car while you're in an intersection, you unfortunately don't have any legal rights because you weren't being a pedestrian in that intersection. Now, if you're off your bike and you're walking through the intersection, you do have the same rights as a pedestrian if you are to get hit. But if you're riding your bike, unfortunately, you don't. So that's one of the reasons it's important to get off and walk through the intersection. Roy, thank you so much for coming out and sharing some great information. And hopefully we'll see a lot of you out on the trails, and we'll, you know, enjoying Lincoln's wonderful trail system. We've got more trails than most cities in the country right within our city limits. It's really great. So thanks again for coming out, Roy.
Thank you for having me, Elizabeth, and for everyone over there, keep enjoying the trails.
And we'll see you soon.